This morning, I left camp just as the sun began to rise above the horizon, carrying my bow, arrows, and a familiar small knife. On the dry ground near a patch of thorny bushes, I suddenly noticed a wide trail stretching across the soft sand. It curved around several rocks before disappearing toward an area of low grass, showing that a large snake had passed through not long before. For the Hadzabe, signs like these cannot be ignored, because a full-grown snake can provide enough food to share with several families in camp. I began following the trail, moving at a steady pace while carefully watching everything around me. The deeper I traveled into the bush, the more difficult the terrain became. At times, the snake's trail was clearly visible in the sand, but only a few steps later, it vanished among hard rocks and dry leaves. I had to study bent branches, disturbed patches of grass, and fresh marks in the dust covering the stones. Every small change could reveal the direction the animal had taken. This kind of hunt is not for anyone in a hurry, because missing a single detail could send me the wrong way and cause me to lose the trail completely. As the heat grew stronger, I continued forward patiently, trusting the skills the elders had taught me many years ago. After traveling a long distance, the trail led me to an area filled with narrow rock crevices and thick bushes growing close together. It was the perfect place for a snake to hide from the heat, because its natural coloring could blend almost completely with the dirt, rocks, and dry grass. Instead of walking straight in, I circled the area, kept my distance, and observed it from several different angles. At first, a dark shape beneath the shade looked like an old fallen branch, but when I studied it more closely, I noticed part of the snake's body curled between two rocks. It remained almost completely still, with only a slight movement showing that it had sensed my presence. After hours of searching, I had finally found its exact location. That I stayed calm and chose the safest way to approach. In the wilderness, rushing can quickly turn a situation dangerous, so every move had to be carefully planned. Using the hunting knowledge of my community, I studied the position of the snake's head, the direction of its body, and the open space around it before taking action. After working carefully and keeping the situation under control, the snake was no longer able to move. The search that had started early in the morning had finally brought a result. I rested for a moment, checked my equipment, and then began the journey back to camp as the sun climbed high above the savanna. When I returned, several members of the community quickly came over to help prepare the snake for our shared meal. We chose a flat area near the cooking place, arranged our tools, and divided the work among ourselves. Some people collected dry firewood, others started the fire, while I completed the remaining preparation using familiar methods. No one needed many instructions, because these skills had long been part of everyday life. The camp slowly became more active as the smell of smoke drifted past the shelters, and everyone began looking forward to the meal after a long day. The children also stood nearby, quietly watching each familiar step performed. By the adults that by late afternoon, the food had been cooked and everyone gathered around the fire. The portions were shared evenly and no one kept more than their fair share. As we ate, we talked about following the trail through the bushes, the moments when the marks disappeared, and the instant the snake was finally spotted beneath the rocks. For the Hadzabe, today's journey brought back more than food. It also helped preserve the knowledge, patience, and spirit of sharing passed down through generations. As the last light faded, quiet conversations continued around the camp, bringing another simple day of survival in the Tanzanian wilderness to a close. In that moment, every hardship from the hunt seemed to give way to a sense of peace and togetherness.
In the late afternoon on the savannah near Lake Iasi, the heat remained intense even as the sun began to sink lower in the sky. Hot, dry air hung over the low shrubs and stretches of cracked earth, extending all the way to the horizon. This was when a group of Hadzabe men left their camp in search of water and food. Carrying bows, arrows, and small knives, they quietly followed narrow trails through the bushland. Along the way, they constantly watched for animal tracks, the direction of flying birds, and areas where the vegetation appeared greener. These seemingly minor signs helped them identify places where water might still be available or prey might be hiding. As they approached an area filled with acacia trees, the man leading the group suddenly raised his hand and signaled everyone to stop. Among the dry grass lay a massive grayish-brown body coiled into several loops. It was a giant African rock python, resting motionless beneath the shade of a tree. The hunters quickly spread out, kept their distance and watched the direction in which the animal might move. One man slowly placed an arrow against his bowstring. The arrowhead had been coated with poison extracted from the Adenium obesum plant, a toxin the Hadza traditionally use when hunting large animals. As the python raised its head and began sliding out grass, the hunter immediately released the arrow. After a short time, the animal gradually lost its strength. The hunt was over, providing an important source of meat for the entire camp. After the hunt, the group continued on and discovered a beehive inside a hollow in the trunk of a large tree. For the Hadza, honey is not only a delicious food, but also a valuable source of energy during journeys that can last for hours. One man gathered dry branches and grass to create smoke, while another climbed a tree and carefully removed part of the hive. Golden honey flowed along the wax and dripped onto their hands. Pieces of honeycomb were broken apart and passed around the group. After eating and resting briefly, they continued their journey because the food they had gathered was still not enough for everyone waiting back at camp. Not long afterward, fresh hoof prints appeared in the soft soil near a dense patch of vegetation. Based on their size and direction, the hunters realized that a group of wild boars had recently passed through the area. They immediately crouched low, moved slowly, and spread out on both sides to approach their prey. One hunter advanced, while the others waited near possible escape routes. Suddenly, a wild boar burst out of bushes and ran toward an open stretch of land. The hunter quickly drew his bow and fired an arrow at the animal. It continued running for a short distance before losing its strength and collapsing. The group moved closer, pleased that the journey had provided another substantial source of food for their community. Instead of immediately carrying all their prey back to camp, they stopped to rest in an open clearing. They started a small fire with dry branches. The wild boar meat and part of the python were cut into manageable pieces and placed directly over the glowing coals. There were no cooking pots, pans, or elaborate seasonings, but the smell of roasting meat quickly spread through the air. Everyone sat in a circle, divided the meat evenly, and ate with their hands. As darkness began to fall, they carried the remaining food back to camp. The children ran out to greet them, while the adults continued roasting meat beside the fire. Beneath a sky filled with stars, everyone ate, talked, and prepared their equipment for the next hunt. Spending time with the Hadza helped me understand that sharing is at the heart of their way of life. Every hunt is not the achievement of one person, but the result of the entire group working together. Those skilled at reading tracks lead the way. The best archers take responsibility for approaching the prey, and the others provide support and carry the food back to camp. Survival skills are passed from one generation to the next through observation and hands-on experience. They have no electricity, internet access, or many possessions, yet they always divide whatever they find equally. When I left the camp, I realized that the Hadza's greatest strength does not come from their weapons, but from the deep sense of unity that allows them to survive together in such a harsh environment.
Across Tanzania's vast grasslands, the Hadza live in small groups scattered through the wilderness. They own few possessions, and their lives are not divided into working hours and leisure time as in modern society. In the morning, they may hunt together or gather wild fruit. After returning, they light a fire, prepare food, and sit together as the sun sets. Children play nearby while adults talk and repair their bows and arrows. Every activity takes place naturally within the same shared space. Perhaps the Hadza's sense of freedom comes not from owning little, but from the way every part of life remains closely connected. This close-knit way of life is clearly seen in their search for honey. Early in the morning, the group follows the buzzing of bees to find hives hidden in tall, old trees. With no ladder available, they create their own climbing route from strong branches. One person cuts holes into the trunk, while the others prepare wooden pegs and drive them in one by one to form secure footholds. Near the hive, they burn dry grass and gently direct the smoke inside, causing the bees to leave briefly. The honey-filled combs are then carefully lowered to the ground. Their sweetness rewards patience and teamwork, but more importantly, the honey is taken back and shared with everyone at camp. Moving deeper into the forest, the Hadza hunt officially begins. They do not hurry but repeatedly bend down to study fresh tracks. Soon, they notice several porcupine quills near the entrance of a burrow and conclude that one is hiding below. Porcupines often retreat deeper underground when threatened, while their sharp quills make close contact risky. The lead hunter waits patiently at the entrance. When an unusual movement suddenly appears, they shoot an arrow forward. The animal rushes toward the bushes, and the group immediately spreads out, following the sound of moving leaves. After searching for some time, They find the porcupine curled up in thick vegetation beside a narrow gap in the ground. The hunt succeeds through skilled tracking and coordinated teamwork. After tracking the porcupine, the group finds water just as everyone is growing tired. The Hadza stop at the edge, wash the dust from their faces, hands, and feet, and wet their hair to ease the heat. Contrary to common assumptions about hunter-gatherer communities, they do not neglect personal cleanliness. Whenever they find water, they use the opportunity to cool down and recover after a long journey. Experience, however, keeps them cautious. Some clear sources are safe to drink, while other pools should only be used for washing. In this dry, hot land, every water source is valuable. Knowing how to use it correctly restores their strength and helps them avoid unnecessary risks. Leaving the water, the Hadza carry the day's catch back to camp before dark. First, they carefully remove each sharp quill to avoid injuring their hands. Large, undamaged quills are gathered and stored because they can be used as decorations or materials for handicrafts. The meat is then cleaned and divided for different cooking methods. Beside the fire, a man turns pieces of meat over the glowing coals, while a group of women prepares a large pot to simmer the rest. Some add firewood, others bring water or watch the children, and everyone contributes in their own way. The camp becomes lively yet remains natural and familiar. This practiced cooperation turns even a simple meal into a moment of abundance for the whole community. The story of the Hadza shows that people can still live very differently in the age of technology. They store little, produce little waste, and use only what nature provides, from roots and wild fruit to hunted animals. Time is measured not by clocks, but by daylight, the dry and rainy seasons, and the positions of the stars. Although the outside world has changed over thousands of years, this community continues to endure through ancient knowledge, adaptability, and a deep connection to the land around them.
The Hadzabe live a simple life in the heart of the wilderness. They do not store large supplies of food or build permanent homes, rely instead on hunting and gathering for survival. Everyone in the community has a role to play, from searching for food and caring for the children to preparing for the next hunt. Whenever someone catches an animal or discovers a source of food, the reward does not belong to that person alone. It is brought back and shared with the entire group. This spirit of unity, mutual support, and shared success has helped the Hadzabe endure for generations in one of the world's most demanding environments. As morning begins, the Hadzabe men sit together to prepare their bows and arrows for the hunt. They pick up each arrow shaft, carefully running a knife along the wood before using their mouths to straighten it. Every movement is slow and precise because even the slightest bend could send an arrow off course. Their bows are decorated with hand-wrapped bindings and carefully crafted details that make them both sturdy and comfortable to hold. The arrowheads are sharpened to fine points, while the bowstrings require considerable strength to draw. Once everything is ready, the hunters test their bows one final time before heading into the wilderness. With their equipment prepared, the hunters leave camp and follow narrow trails across the savanna. The morning air is still cool, but heat is already beginning to rise from the ground. They move slowly, watching for branches that have recently shifted, fresh tracks in the sand, and patches of grass that have been disturbed. The signs clearly indicate that an animal passed through the area only a short time earlier. Suddenly, one of the hunters spots a troop of monkeys sitting on low branches, busily searching for food. The group immediately crouches down and quietly spreads out. Several hunters remain in front, while the others carefully circle around both sides to block the possible escape routes. Sensing danger, one of the monkeys immediately leaps away from the tree and moves toward a safer position. The hunters give chase, tracking its direction while gradually tightening the circle around it. The animal repeatedly changes course, jumping between trees and searching for a way to escape. However, the hunter's well-coordinated movements steadily reduce the space around it. The moment the monkey lets down its guard, one hunter quickly takes up a favorable position, draws his bow, and sends an arrow accurately toward the target. The pursuit ends soon afterward, as the monkey has been struck by a poison-tipped arrow prepared in advance. It is the first successful catch of the day, and the group takes pride in the patience and teamwork that made it possible. While surveying the surrounding area, the hunters suddenly hear faint sounds coming from a nearby rock crevice. Realizing that an animal is hiding inside, they immediately move closer to investigate. Several men use long branches to probe the opening, while the others stand around it to block every possible exit. After waiting patiently for some time, they discover that the trap has caught a squirrel attempting to escape. The hunt quickly ends in success, providing the group with another catch and adding to their food supply for the day's journey. After a long day crossing the savannah, the hunters finally return to camp carrying the animals they have caught. Everyone quickly takes on a task. Some clean and prepare the food, while others gather dry branches and build a fire. The meat is then placed over the flames and cooked in the simple, familiar way they have always used. As the aroma spreads through the camp, children and other members of the community gather around the fire. No hunter keeps his catch for himself because every reward is shared fairly among the entire group. The communal meal not only helps everyone regain their strength after the demanding journey, but also reflects a unity that has sustained the Hadzabe way of life. The Hadzabe do not see themselves as the owners of the land, but as one small part of nature's vast cycle. They hunt only what they need to survive, take only what they can use, and understand that greed can destroy the balance that has supported their community for thousands of years. Their philosophy is remarkably simple. Survival does not mean conquering nature, but learning to listen to it, adapt to it, and live in harmony with it. In a world increasingly driven by material possessions, their way of life reminds us that true wealth can sometimes be as simple as having a community to return to, a meal to share, and a natural world preserved for generations to come.
Every morning, while millions wake up and reach for their phones, the Hadzabe look down at fresh tracks on the ground. With no food delivery apps or modern transport, they carry bows into the savannah, following animal trails and finding food and water through knowledge passed down for generations. These two worlds coexist in the 21st century, but move at entirely different rhythms. The Hadzabe way of life is special not because it stands outside progress, but because it preserves a living memory of humanity's ancient journey of survival. A Hadza hunt always begins by choosing the right arrow. The hunter lifts each one, checking the straightness of the wooden shaft, the sharpness of the tip, and its balance in flight. For birds and small animals, he selects a light arrow for speed and accuracy. When larger animals may appear, he prepares stronger arrows coated with poison extracted from forest plants. The poison does not stop the animal immediately, but gradually weakens it. This allows the hunters to avoid getting too close to a frightened and dangerous animal. The carefully prepared arrows soon become necessary when the Hadza reach a shallow water source. Ahead, a large hippo suddenly steps from the reeds, blocks the path, and keeps its eyes fixed on them. Knowing its strength, the hunters slow down and maintain their distance. However, the hippo continues moving closer. The men raise their bows, draw the strings, and release an arrow that strikes its side. Startled by the impact, the animal stops, turns, and quickly retreats. The group waits until it is far away before continuing the journey. Deeper in the forest, the Hadza notice familiar signs on the ground: deep hoof prints, fresh droppings, and flattened grass. A quick look tells them that a wild boar has been feeding nearby. They immediately slow down and move against the wind so their scent will not reach it. Behind a low bush, the boar is digging through soft soil for roots. The lead hunter slowly raises his bow, waits for the animal to turn sideways, and releases an arrow. The accurate shot sends it racing into the forest. The hunters follow at once, tracking broken grass and hoof prints. Finally, they find the exhausted animal and collect their catch together. As the tired hunters return to camp, everyone quickly gathers around the day's catch. The meat is divided into portions. Some pieces are placed on branches to roast, while others cook slowly beside the fire. The Hadza use almost every part of the animal because they know that food is never easily obtained. No one asks who struck it first. Once the prey reaches camp, it immediately becomes communal food. Children, older people, women, those who stayed behind, and even the dogs that joined the hunt all receive a full share. As soon as the meal ends, the Hadzabe women begin thinking about the next day. They leave camp and cross cracked ground in search of food that will give the hunters enough strength in the morning. Moving through the dry landscape, they carefully study every plant growing among sand and stone. From the shape of a leaf, the color of a stem, or a small crack in the soil, they can tell whether starchy wild tubers are hidden below. Once the right spot is found, one woman pushes a digging stick deep into the earth while the others remove the soil. Soon, a large tuber appears. They brush it clean, taste part of it, and carefully gather the rest to carry back to camp. Looking at Hadza life, we see not only traces of a distant past, but also a part of our own history. Before the modern world, humans found food in nature and relied on their communities to overcome hardship. The Hadza continue to preserve that connection today. Their greatest treasure may not be an ancient way of life, but their bond with the land, the people around them, and life's simplest yet most essential needs. As dawn spread across the low hills surrounding Lake Eyasi, the Tanzanian savanna slowly emerged beneath the soft golden light. At the camp, the hunters woke one by one, stepped out of their huts, and gathered around the fire still smoldering from the night before. They checked the tension of their bowstrings, selected each arrow, sharpened their small knives, and neatly coiled the ropes used to carry their catch. After studying the wind and discussing the tracks recently found near camp, the group decided to head toward the grasslands bordering the bush. Before long, they quietly left the camp and followed a narrow trail through the acacia trees as birds and other wild animals began searching for food. When they reached an area covered in thick, tall grass, the lead hunter suddenly raised his hand and signaled everyone to stop. Ahead of them, a leopard lay low against the ground, nearly blending into the dry grass. Not far away, a small herd of antelope moved calmly through the bushes, unaware of the danger nearby. The leopard crept forward patiently, using mounds of earth and fallen tree trunks to hide its body. Once it had closed the distance, it suddenly charged, sending the entire herd scattering in panic. After traveling a little farther, the group discovered several large tracks pressed deeply into the soft ground near a drying waterhole. The tracks led them into an area of thick brush, where 3 male lions were quietly watching a herd of antelope on the other side of the grassland. One lion slowly moved forward, stopping each time the antelope lifted their heads to look around. When several animals separated from the herd, it suddenly accelerated and burst through the dry grass. The antelope fled in every direction, kicking up a cloud of dust across the savanna. The presence of the lions made the hunters realize the area was still dangerous, forcing them to change their route. After circling around a low rocky ridge, the hunters spotted another herd of antelope gathered near a shallow depression that still held some water. Using the wind and dense bushes as cover, they moved closer without making a sound. One hunter slowly crawled forward, stopped behind a tree trunk, and carefully raised his bow. When an antelope stepped away from the herd and approached the water's edge, he drew the string and released an arrow toward the target. The animal immediately ran into the brush, but its tracks and the bent grass allowed the group to keep following it. After searching carefully for some time, they found the antelope lying beneath a tree and quickly prepared the ropes needed to carry it back. The antelope was tied securely to a long wooden pole, so 2 men could take turns carrying it across the uneven terrain. On the way back, the group moved slowly and often stopped to listen for sounds coming from the surrounding bushes. They knew the scent of the catch could attract hyenas, leopards, or other predators hiding nearby. As the sun began to sink toward the west, the roofs of the camp finally appeared beyond the trees. Those who had stayed behind quickly came out to help carry the antelope to the preparation area. Some gathered firewood and water, while others arranged the tools needed for the meal. A large fire was quickly built in the center of the camp, casting a warm glow as afternoon faded into evening. The antelope was cleaned and divided into suitable portions. Then the meat was placed in a pot or roasted on sturdy branches above the glowing coals. The smell of food drifted through the camp, drawing children and other members who had just returned from gathering. Once everything was ready, the entire community sat around the fire and shared the meal. As they ate, the hunters described their encounters with the leopard and lions, along with the journey of tracking their catch. These stories not only helped everyone understand the savannah better, but also passed down lessons about staying calm, observing carefully, and always working together. Voices carried through the night, bringing a long day to a close with sharing and unity.
At dawn, soft light gradually spreads across the African savanna and its scattered woodlands. In the distance, vast grasslands slowly brighten beneath the first rays of sunlight, while many wild animals begin moving in search of food. At the camp, the tribal hunters also wake early to prepare for the day's hunt. They carefully inspect their bows, knives, ropes, and arrows, making sure every piece of equipment is ready for use. After completing all preparations, the group quietly leaves the camp and heads into the vast savanna, beginning another hunting journey in the African wilderness. The tribal hunters cross wide grasslands and sparse forests, carefully following the footprints of large animals impressed in the ground. Before long, they spot a lion resting on the open savanna. The group quickly finds concealed positions and patiently observes it from a safe distance. After a while, the lion slowly rises, silently walks through the tall grass, and suddenly bursts into a sprint to hunt. Following a brief chase, it quickly brings down its prey and begins feeding. The hunters continue waiting until the lion finally leaves the area before quietly moving in to prepare for their own hunt. Using the bushes and small earthen mounds as cover, the hunters silently reduce the distance between themselves and the lion. As soon as the animal enters shooting range, the first arrow is released. Wounded, the lion immediately roars and charges straight toward the hunters. The men quickly scatter in different directions, maintaining a safe distance while repeatedly firing additional arrows. Although the lion continues its attack, its speed gradually slows as more arrows strike its body. After a fierce struggle, it finally loses strength and collapses on the savanna. The hunters quickly move in and completely secure their first trophy of the day. After finishing the hunt, the tribal group returns to the camp before the sun climbs high into the sky. Everyone quickly builds a fire in the center of the camp to prepare a meal. Others clean the freshly hunted meat, cut it into bite-sized pieces, place it into a pot with water, and cook it over the fire. While waiting for the meat to cook, they take turns watching the pot and keeping the fire burning steadily. The aroma of hot food soon spreads throughout the camp. Once the meal is ready, the group gathers together and enjoys the food to recover after the first hunt. Following a short rest, they check their bows and arrows again and prepare for the next hunt. Leaving the camp once more, the tribal hunters head back into the sparse woodland in search of another animal. Before long, they discover an African civet slowly searching for food beneath low bushes. Using the dense vegetation as cover, the hunters silently spread out and approach from several directions without alerting the animal. When they are close enough, an arrow is quickly released and strikes the target. The hunters immediately rush toward the spot, following the remaining tracks left by the wounded animal. After only a short distance, they find the civet lying beneath the bushes and quickly secure it. The group then carries the new trophy back to the camp. Back at the camp, the tribe begins preparing a meal from a freshly hunted African civet. More firewood is added to the fire, while some members mix flour with water in a clay pot, stirring continuously until it thickens into a porridge-like dish. Meanwhile, the meat is cleaned, cut into bite-sized pieces, and placed into another clay pot to cook thoroughly. Once everything is ready, the tribe gathers together to enjoy a hot meal after their second hunt of the day. Everyone focuses on eating and restoring their strength after a long day of traveling and hunting across the savannah. As the sun slowly disappears beyond the horizon, another day in the African wilderness comes peacefully to an end.
Tanzania is home to an ancient tribe that has lived there for tens of thousands of years without electricity, without participating in a modern market-based economy, and without viewing land ownership the way most of us do today. To them, the forest is not simply a resource. It is their home and a living memory passed down through generations. The forest not only provides food, but also teaches people how to observe, adapt, and survive. Every trail winding through the trees carries the footsteps of countless generations who have quietly and steadily traveled across this land. As they move deeper into the forest, one hunter suddenly hears a faint sound coming from the canopy above. Looking more closely, he notices branches gently shaking and fresh scratch marks on the bark. These signs reveal that a bush baby is hiding among the thick leaves. The Hadzabe know that this small animal is an agile climber, capable of making long leaps and nearly disappearing into the darkness. They immediately slow down, remain silent, and spread out to watch from different directions. When the animal moves onto a lower branch and exposes itself, one hunter quickly raises his bow. The arrow strikes before the bush baby can leap into another tree. The hunter carefully retrieves the prey and continues the journey. Continuing the hunt, the men discover fresh wolf tracks in the soft ground. The prints lead toward an area of low brush, suggesting that the animal passed through only moments earlier. The group quietly moves forward while carefully checking the wind to avoid being detected. Once the distance is right, one hunter slowly raises his bow. The arrow leaves the string and strikes the animal. Although hit, the wolf immediately runs into the tall grass. Knowing the poison will take effect gradually, the Hadzabe patiently follow its path instead of rushing after it. After covering some distance, the animal begins to weaken in the grass, and the hunters quickly move closer. However, bringing down prey on the savanna does not mean the danger is over. The scent of the animal and the sounds of the hunt can attract other predators. When a lion appears nearby, the atmosphere changes immediately. The Hadzabe do not panic. They keep their distance, work together, and closely watch every movement of the lion to protect the food they worked so hard to obtain. This is not reckless behavior, but a decision shaped by the need to survive. To them, it is not a battle between humans and wild animals, but an encounter between two predators sharing the same land. After a long day of searching for food, everyone returns to camp with the results of their hard work. The animals are cleaned and divided among the families. No written rules are needed because sharing has long been part of their way of life. Dinner is also a time when generations gather together to exchange hunting experiences and lessons about survival. While many societies measure wealth by the possessions people accumulate, the Hadzabe believe true wealth lies in the ability to share with others. When dinner ends, singing and dancing begin. Laughter and conversation fill the air around the fire, bringing another long day on the savannah to a close. Their lives may be simple, but within that simplicity there is genuine joy. Although they lack many modern comforts, the Hadzabe possess treasures of enormous value. Strong community bonds, deep respect for nature, and happiness found in life's simplest moments. Perhaps it is the songs sung around the fire at sunset that have helped this small community endure for centuries. They remind us that happiness may not be found in what we own, but in the people with whom we share our lives at the end of each day.